Picture the Poet has included many, many different partners and different sorts of partnerships. They've included literary organisations, poets, photographers, libraries, young people. Some of these you've already heard about, but this session will give us an opportunity to hear a bit more and actually maybe understand some of the legacy of working with Picture the Poet. So what I should also say is that our host venues have often brokered those partnerships, and so we'll also be hearing from some of those people who've been involved on the ground in the different tour venues. But first of all, I'd like to introduce you to Alison Boyle, and the Arts Council Strategic Touring Fund funded Picture the Poet, and Alison's going to come and talk to us about the great art that's been available in poetry and visual art in the north of England with this project. Thank you.
I like the idea of the public in residence, and I loved those poems. Thank you. I'd like to start by saying it was pretty good having 4 of the 6 locations for Picture the Poet up north. If your home happens to be a place with fewer opportunities to make and show art, you might hear your own pure resonance singing bel canto in your head, but the sound's distorted by the veritable fog of travelling through chlorinated water before reaching the ears of your audience, whoever they are. You're bursting with something to say, but it might get a bit damp on the way. You don't know where to say it or how to. So you're the artist expressing yourself at the bottom of a pool. No one's noticing. You try blowing harder. Project. Press the keys more dexterously, more show-offily. Still no one notices. They can't even see you. They don't care. Try wearing brighter colours. A crimson shirt might work. Truth is, you're alone, making great art at the bottom of a swimming pool. The same barriers can exist for organisations who are passionate about helping artists to flourish. Maybe they're based outside a city with art coming out of its ears, not projecting far enough. So what about Picture the Poet and the Strategic Touring Fund? The Arts Council Strategic Funds invest in high-quality work that reflects the diversity of local communities and contemporary England. 91% of the money has been spent outside London. In the north, 76 applications were awarded £14.6 million, an average of £200,000 each. And so far, 268 local authority areas have been involved. Picture the Poet's about encouraging local, regional and national groups to synchronise. This slide, not Picture the Poet, was a pool-based performance involving 100 synchronised swimmers, dancers and musicians in the north, working together for 3 years. At times it probably still felt a bit lonely. Some places in England it can be even harder to keep going after the razzmatazz is done. When the funding and some of the partners have left, what are you left with? On to legacy. One immediate impact of the £250,000 programme Picture the Poet was that it made things happen. But legacy has a tendency towards attrition. With so much vying for our attention, what remains? As Picture the Poet's rounding off with this conference, what inclines legacy's head towards the water, makes her dip under, sense things beneath the skin, hear resonances long after the first tentative sound was made. Recent legacy of Picture the Poet is still ringing bel canto in the minds of its participants, in writers' notebooks, the storage devices of cameras, those locally made imagery and poetry, as we know, new music and performance to remember that did occur when it hadn't occurred before. In schools, museums, libraries, art galleries, and many other public spaces. The stories you've heard. It was a chance to synchronise just down your street, maybe even in your local swimming pool, with high-quality artists. a chance to be inspired, create, or just to experience as a member of the audience. Nuggets amplified at that time with potential to be amplified through time. Their quality resonating in the future. So what's a lasting legacy? Well, my test is to ask the question, if you weren't there at the time, what can you experience still? With so much bombardment, what will sustain in a year, 2 years, and 5 years from now? A few suggestions. Number 1, the fabulous, famous poet portraits. They went on view in the regions, were captured by the regions, who were captivated by them, and they're still available here. Photography commissions of regional writers, number 2, now embraced by the National Portrait Gallery. And some of those local echoes, surely they'll carry on echoing. Some will have potential to blossom, say growing from newfound confidence about a career in the arts. Students in Norwich, Lincoln Summer School and Preston College snapped Photographing a Stranger twice. Once to convey wondering through a portrait, and twice to convey confident, which is apparently much easier. Sheffield featured the distinctive Helen Mort with Word Life, and in Sunderland, the inimitable Rowan McCabe synchronised with young performers over 6 weeks. Things created in Norwich, Sheffield, Preston, Lincoln, Sunderland, Carlisle are significant. And the reason they sustain for a long while might be because they happened in the face of local challenge, and they reflect the places they were born in. Most of all, don't let's assume that without a burgeoning programme of Grace Hart happening every minute on your doorstep, there's a lack of interest from audiences who want to experience art that inspires them. Audiences, what did they think of Picture the Poet? Well, one person said, there's a perception that things like this don't happen here, but this shows people are engaged and things like this are wanted. And if we put them on, people will come, and we need more of them. In Sunderland's unique museum and winter gardens, these words were heard. It's really interesting diversity. It's nice to be in an experience that has an exhibition, a kaleidoscope of poets you know, and seeing them in a different context. He was part of the experience. He felt he belonged. Also heard were the words, I love the quality of the performance as well as the content, especially from the people who've never done anything before. It's reinforced or brought back or reminded me how good poetry can be and how varied and challenging, how much it makes you think. I thought that audience comment was a poem in itself, actually. If you see promise, talk to someone at the Arts Council. Check out the funding criteria. Read Michelle Dixon's blog. See the Just Out Arts Council evaluation report about this programme, well, about strategic touring, and it will be included, Picture the Poet will be included in the next evaluation. And there's a response to it on our website which looks at some of the challenges and barriers. What we'd really like to see is more literature and digital projects coming through the Strategic Touring Fund, because we haven't had many, about 11. You can still apply up to 24th of March next year, whether you're an organisation or an individual. My final lasting legacy that withstands the test. If you weren't there at the time, what can you experience still? At Tully House, a woman said, it's good to take it even to further flung places. What she meant by that was even further flung than Carlisle. If you live in rural Cumbria, Carlisle might seem a relative London. In the words and accent of Ian Macmillan, gosh, we had a night that's been made in an art gallery, the theatre of an art gallery. I did try Yorkshire accent, but it was Lancashire imposed on Yorkshire. Yeah, sorry, I shouldn't have even said anything, should I? On a Friday night in a northern city, what I want is that everybody who leaves this building goes, I could have a go at that. I could write a poem. I could take a picture. I could think about combining the two. You did say that, didn't you? I did. And you also said, blimey, why can't everybody come? Everybody should come. Quite right too. So how does everybody get to come if you weren't there at the time? Digital allows us to do that. Anywhere in the world, you can experience the 3 to 10 minute high quality films on the Portrait Gallery's website and National Literacy Trust, Apples and Snakes, and some of the poems that were created. There you can see local, regional and national partners synchronising in the same dance, making great art happen, no matter where.